And so, when does a child begin to learn? I'll put it to you that the child begins to learn right from the womb, because studies have shown that a newborn baby smiles in recognition of the father's voice. When a baby hears the father's voice for the first time, it brings a smile to their face because they recognize it. And so, right from the womb, a baby can begin to learn. It's just like somebody in a coma. They say, keep talking. Their subconscious will pick it up. And when they come out of the coma, they affirm it. They say, I heard everything you said. So their mind obviously isn't developed, but their instinct has already begun to develop right from the womb. Another example is when a daddy maybe carries the baby in a certain way. What happens? The baby begins to turn his or her head towards his chest area, expecting to be fed. What does that tell us? It tells us that even within a week of birth, the baby already has learned that when I'm carried in this position and I turn my face in this direction, good things happen and I feel better. And so they're looking for nourishment. I mean, they don't know who gives the nourishment and where the nourishment, but they know in this position and with that angle, nourishment will come. And then everybody laughs and says, oh, give the baby to the mommy. The baby must be hungry. That's all within a week. And the mother cannot make the baby suck. The mother can only offer the nipple to the baby. It's the baby to put the mouth to the nipple and draw milk and feed itself. What has happened? The child has learned. So, unfortunately for us in this part of the world, we feel, oh, what do they know? Oh, they are too young and all that. But the psychologists tell us that the first 3 years of a child's life are the most formative years when it comes to character traits and personalities. So whatever you want to form and you want to mold and you want to inculcate in a child, the roots are set at the first few years of their lives. And those are the years in which most parents all over the world actually do ignore these children for the most part, thinking, the time will come for training, the time will come for teaching, they're too young, but that's not true. Their instincts have already begun to develop. They've already begun to learn. Take an adult, for example. So many times we encounter a situation, we hear a comment, or we meet somebody, and something strikes us, but we have no explanation or understanding of it. It might be an hour later, 2 hours later, a day, 2 days, a week later, that it flashes back in our minds with understanding. And then we have a full understanding or more understanding of what that situation was about. So what happened? Our instinct picked up some vibes and picked up a message, but our brains could not interpret it at that point in time. So it is with these kids. Their subconscious, their instincts are picking all the time. And as they develop, they will put interpretation and understanding to the things that they have developed in their instincts. So you see how the personality of a child is formed at a very tender age. And impressions are made on these tabula rasas at a very tender age, unknown to us, because we are waiting for when the mind will develop. And we ignore the stage in which the instincts are already being developed and things are already being written on these tablets. So it's never too early to begin to practice intentionality in parenting. As such, you have to intentionally edit their lives, because children are sponges. They will sponge up everything around them, because that's all they can do at that stage in life. They are learning, they are developing. They're not they're not into a lot of pursuits and a lot of activity. So they have all their energy and their brain power or mind power or existence is in sponging from their environment. So their instincts are developing, they are noticing things, they are receiving messages into their subconscious from their environment all the time. So you have to edit their speech. Tell them what you want them to hear, what you want them to say and not to say. At this stage, you decide the kind of language that you will allow from your child as they grow up. As they grow up and develop their speech and all that, don't let them pick up different expressions from their friends or from their environment. Edit their speech as they grow up. Edit their friends early and let them gravitate towards friends of a certain character, behavior, background, and such. So intentionally edit their friends and edit their dressing, edit their clothing. Once a child is raised to dress in a certain way, there is no fashion that will come that will make them go crazy in their dressing. There will always be some degree of normality in their dressing if you did it and you edited it from the beginning. Edit the school. Choose a good school. Not necessarily the most convenient, not necessarily the most friendly, pocket-friendly school, but choose a school intentionally and pay the price and go the extra mile. So when the child grows up and that name is put on his or her CV, it will open doors. So don't think about your convenience alone. Think about the future of the child. Edit the church you go to. Edit the Sunday school you go to, the Sunday school teachers. Talk to them, relate with them, so you know exactly what the input in their life is. We can't overemphasize this in the 21st century because, so many weird things are, threatening, to write on this tabula rasas of ours, So we have to intentionally edit their lives constantly. And again, I say this takes time and effort. It takes time and effort. It takes our Sherlock Holmes skills to detect these patterns early so we can nip things in the bud before they become a bigger problem in future. Edit their diet. Surround them with healthy things right from the word go. Let them get used to picking on fruits, picking on veggies around the house. So when they turn around, instead of seeing processed foods, they'll see fruits and everything. So when they feel like a snack, the only thing available around is carrot sticks or cut up or an apple or a banana or tangerines or whatever, grapes and all that, plums, whatever is healthy. Make them readily available to them. It's not like they wouldn't have snacks once in a while, but we are trying to indoctrinate them. We are trying to condition them like Pavlov's dogs, reactions, conditioned reactions. So when they feel hungry and they see healthy things, they will salivate and they will have the appetite and they will want to reach out and, grab fruits rather than, reach for snacks. So this way you're training them and conditioning them to eat healthy. Yes, some people have big bones. Yes, some people have slow metabolism and all that. But if you train them in the way they should go, they will not develop a taste for things that are not healthy and things that are fattening. It's all conditioning. Teach them what is right and what is wrong, and especially teach them to edit themselves. Teach them that not everything they are told is true. Teach them to always question in a positive way things that they hear, things they are told. Teach them to always come back to you when they hear anything or they see anything, for you to explain to them. Because if you don't explain to them, if you're not readily available, the world will explain to them behind your back, and you may not even know the explanation, obviously. So you would not know the seed that has been sown. Only down the road, a few years later, you begin to grapple with opinions and attitudes, and you wonder that, where did this come from? Where did you learn this? Who taught you that? How did you develop this? Seeds were sown. So we have to be very vigilant, and we have to spend time and spend effort. Edit what you say, what you do around the house, around them, because their instincts are picking up. Their eyes are following you around the house. They may be, just on their soccer, or, just on the bouncer. Or their eyes are following you everywhere. They're in their walker. Their instinct is following you. They're sponging up all the time. Even if they're toddlers, even if, they can barely, express themselves, they're just, maybe 3-4 years old, they're taking in the vibes. I'll give you an example. When I was a proprietress, almost 3 decades long, and I was never one for the four walls of the office and everything. I love to go to the carpet, sit with them, play with them, watch them, and a lot of what, you're hearing comes from my hands-on experience and my observation of children over the years. So I'd go to their class, I'll sit with them for a while, listen to the teacher, listen to their reactions, watch them, their personalities and all that, and love on them, hug them, play with them and everything. So you find out that you go into a class and you want to love on the child and play with the child and everything like that, and everyone is, forthcoming, but one is just like hanging back and reluctant, with a very far away look in his or her eyes. And I just smile because I know what has happened. That child at maybe 4 or 5 has heard things said about the school, maybe about the proprietress, about, friends or things like that, that were not too palatable. They couldn't understand it. But now you're trying to reach out in love to this child, and instead of, responding and reciprocating as he or she usually does, they're now a bit reluctant because there's a tape playing in their minds of the scene when mommy and daddy were discussing the school. And that is now coming between the school and that child, and hindering the loving process and the learning process. So what has happened? The child has sponged in some vibes that they don't understand, but the vibes are already trying to mold their opinion, or remold and reshape their opinion of their school experience. In other words, you are undermining the authority of the school, the teachers, the proprietress, even the influence of other children. You're making the child inhibited now and reluctant, instead of just being free to play and to love everyone and hug everyone and, be open to, being taught and stuff like that. So when you discuss matters that are very, very serious and maybe not so pleasant Please don't do it within the earshot or in the sight of little toddlers or little children, because they are sponges. They don't understand three-quarters of what's going on or what is being said, but their instinct is sponging up the vibes. And if the vibes are not happy and positive and all that, they will react. So if you have things that are not so pleasant to discuss, discuss it in private when they are not there. Because children love to eavesdrop. They love to eavesdrop. They learn the most when you are not focused on them. An example of this is a lady goes around the house singing a nice song she just learned or she just likes and humming it, and she goes about her chores. What's going to happen? Give and take a week maximum. The child is going to start humming that same tune, trying to sing that song. They don't know the words, they don't have the words, but they're going to try. Why? They've sponged it in. And you are shocked, like, I never taught the child this. I never sat down to teach the child this. I never really sang it. I just, subconsciously. In fact, this principle is one of the major principles behind the Alpha Kindergarten educational approach. Having observed this trait in children, we now teach them in a very formal and relaxed atmosphere, where we're just singing and playing and flashing cards to them in a very relaxed way, knowing that they pick it up faster than if you sit them down, face the teacher or face the board and, try and teach a topic. They pick it up faster when they think you're not teaching them, when they think you're not lecturing them, when they think they're eavesdropping, and it clicks and it sticks very fast. So using this principle, we have found a way to make children learn much faster in a very unconventional way. And believe me, it works, because children love to eavesdrop. You can also use it positively. If you want to improve a child's self-image, begin to discuss the child. You know the child is listening, but talk with your spouse or talk with a friend about the child in very flattering way, in a very loving way, with all the emotions and the love in your voice and all that, and ignore the child completely and pretend like you don't know the child is around. The child is going to sponge it all in very fast and very quickly, because she thinks that you are not talking to her. She thinks that she's eavesdropping on an adult's conversation, and they love to do that. For goodness sake, don't ask me why. But they do love to eavesdrop, and they learn faster when you're not directly, speaking with them. And so we advise that you don't undermine the authority of teachers and the school, especially if they're teaching your children the correct things, the right things, because these people spend so much time. I think maybe more time than you do on the average every day with your children. So you don't want to mess that up at all. That's why some children are absent-minded in class. Some children are so distracted. Some children have been so offended by their school or by the teacher from what they have heard at home that they switch off. And then you'll be wondering why the child is not making good progress in class, or the child is now getting into pranks, or the child, is getting low grades. There's a root cause, and this just might be one of it. So you have to intentionally edit everything in their lives, indoctrinate them passionately, intentionally, because the world out there in this day and age is more desperate than you are to indoctrinate them in the wrong way. Edit their internet usage. Of course, one cannot overemphasize that. edit everything about them, and be quick to pick up anything that you don't want and root it out fast. In the same way, dramatize what you want them to learn. Speak well about people. Treat workers well. Treat friends well. Be courteous to people. An example of this is maybe you're snapping at somebody in the maybe you're in the parking lot, for example, and you're snapping at somebody, or you lose your temper and you're talking harshly, maybe at a worker or at another person, maybe that took your parking space or whatever. When you come into the car, look in the back seat and observe the look on the child's face. The child's look wide-eyed and withdrawn and quiet, because the child may not understand exactly what happened or what went on, but the child has sponged in wrong vibes that have offended his or her spirit, and she's quiet or he's quiet in the back seat, just sitting and looking out through the window. You come in, they don't say a word, probably until you get home, and they're very quiet. Why? That environment, what occurred, has already imprinted in them, and somehow their spirit, their inner man, just didn't like it, because they were not positive vibes. Because don't forget that God's nature is in every child. So they respond to positive vibes better than to negative vibes right from an early age. The flip side of the story is, if you were with a friend and you were laughing and chitty-chatting and talking and, sharing numbers and, really in high spirits, when you come into the car, the child is going to leap forward in between the seats. Hey, mommy, who was that? You did that, and this and that, and they want to know what you were talking about, and they want to know who the person was, and you have to shoo them, and say, hey, get back into the back seat, sit properly, belt yourself, whatever, because they're excited, because they had good vibes. So it is in the home. You must demonstrate good vibes for them to sponge up. Because if you don't, whatever vibes you allow around the home is what they will sponge up, and they will reciprocate. They will duplicate it in their own lives. So you snap at your spouse, the child will grow up to snap at their spouse. You tell lies and ask your child to, cover up for you. They will grow up thinking it's okay, and they will do the same. If dad stays out late, goes drinking or whatever, or partying all the time and all that kind of behavior, the child is going to grow up and mimic that. If you go to church all the time, go to your prayer place all the time and all that, the child most likely will grow up, and because their subconscious has told them this is what to do, because they look up to you and they want to learn from you. If you help your wife around the house, if you hug your wife, you kiss her, you're cuddling her, the child will observe this and sponge it into their subconscious. And they will grow up to be such husbands, grow up to be such wives, because you have told them that that's the way to go. You joke around the house, you do surprises, you celebrate things. All these things, demonstrate them positively, intentionally, because you want your child to do the same when he or she has their own family. It doesn't matter if you never had that growing up. Once you have learned that this is good, this is positive, every true good value, even if it was not inculcated in you because your parents didn't know any better, you have an opportunity to change that. And you have an opportunity now to demonstrate what is right, to teach them the right values by demonstration. Also, you can correct any anomalies in their behavior by demonstration. If a child, for example, lacks empathy, and you don't like that trait, you want to correct it, look for an opportunity when the child needs empathy, then withhold it for a while. And when the child feels bad, then you point out to the child that you feel bad because I didn't do this and this and this. You wanted me to do this and this. You would have loved me to do this and this and say this and this, isn't it? And the child will say yes. Then you say, okay, but last time when this and this happened, you remember you didn't do this and this. And that is how this other person felt. And that's why this other person was not happy, because you should have done this and this. So demonstrate it, because we as human beings will learn the most from the things that touch us directly, from the things we feel. So you can instruct the child, you should be, more, more cautious. You should be more understanding. You should show more love. Those are words. And the child may understand, the child may not understand. It may not make an impact. But when you make the child feel what you're trying to teach them, the child will remember how he or she felt by that experience, and most likely will not want another person to feel that way. So it goes a long way, much further, in fact, when you dramatize things and make them feel things and experience things. Well, they say experience is the best teacher. So that about wraps that up. So as a good parent, every deed, every action must have that foundation of love. Everything you do must be done in love. Even when you have to discipline a child, they must know that you love them, that you are not disciplining them out of anger, out of malice, out of a put down and a wrong attitude, and you're not snapping at them in a negative way, because their spirit man again will reject those negative vibes, but will respond like a plant to water, will respond when you do things in love. Another observation is, when next time maybe you're reprimanding a child or you have to spank a child, watch their reaction. They are watching you intensely. They are watching you. And why are they watching you? They want to decipher if you're doing this out of love or out of malice and anger, and you're short-tempered or you're transferring aggression. They will know the difference, and that's why they watch you. And if they can sense that you're doing it in love, they will respect what you do and they will accept their correction much better. But if they perceive that you're doing it out of anger, or you're short-tempered, or you don't really, care that much, or, there are other emotions, wrong emotions behind what you're saying and what you're doing, guess what? Their spirit man will reject it. That's why you keep correcting a child all the time. You get angrier and angrier and correct more fiercely and fiercely, and it makes no impact. But if you did it in love, not so much in anger, not in, malice or, short-temperedness, just in love, you pull them aside, you explain things to them in love, and then you mete out punishment, they will receive it much better. And they will respect you as well. Because you cannot intentionally parent a child successfully without the child respecting you. That you must win the child's respect. We'll talk about that later on. So your lifestyle that you demonstrate must be underlined by love. Even when if you want to discipline a child, of course, we all know you never use your hand to spank a child. Don't hit your child with your hand. It's a no, no, no. A big no, no. Your hands are for cuddling, your hands for feeding, your hands for nurturing, your hand for loving, and all that. Never use your hand to spank. Get a rod and get a cane, get a ruler, and keep it and let them know the purpose for the cane. And if they deserve to be caned, and you choose to, the rod, and, spare the rod and spoil the child. Okay, so you want to use the rod. Let them know where the rod is. And so when you want to use the rod, you send them to get the rod, and they know they deserve the punishment for what they have done. Number one, never punish a child for the first or second offense on any matter. Definitely, the first time you instruct the child, this is not what you should do, this is wrong. If they do it again, you reprimand them again, and you tell them, this is your last warning. Don't do this again. Now, if they do it the third time, you are obligated as a parent to mete out punishment. It's an obligation, because it becomes an intentional act. It becomes deliberate because you have warned them. But if you haven't set the rules, if you haven't warned them and they do it, don't hit out on them, don't spank them, don't reprimand them. And make sure you don't transfer aggression. This calls for emotional intelligence. While the child is going to get the cane, that's enough time for you to call yourself to a one-man conference and say, hey, am I really angry about what this child has done, or it is because of this and that at work, or this and this other issue, that's why I'm angry. So you lecture yourself, correct yourself, judge yourself, and count 1 to 20 backwards or whatever, and calm down before the cane arrives. Number two, always explain why you have to mete out punishment. Don't be spontaneous. Don't do it in anger. Don't use your hand. And always explain what the child has done wrong, and remind them of how many times you have told them not to do that. And tell them, like my principal, Papa Davis, lovely old British man, he'll say, and I'm sorry, I have to cane you, So you tell them, I'm sorry, but I have to cane you, because I have warned you and I've told you not to do this. And I don't like caning you, but I have to cane you. Personally, I prefer the disciplinary measure of withholding privileges. I'm not one for the cane or the belt or the ruler. I prefer withholding privileges, because, when a child does something wrong and you reprimand the child, sometimes anger wells up in the child. And when you cane the child, more anger wells up. And then you get angry. So it's anger versus anger, which leads to anger and hardens the child eventually. But when the child expects you to be angry and you don't get angry, they are shocked. And they're ready to listen, because they believe they deserve your anger. But when you don't show anger, rather you want to talk with them, you want to explain to them, guess what? They will pay attention. They will listen. And it will go further to accomplish the goal than if you just mete out punishment in anger. They go to their room to marinate in their self-loathing, and you go about your business, and then they're in the doghouse for 2-3 days. No. I prefer you explain to them, and then you withhold privileges, because these privileges are very fun to them and very precious to them. Oh, that will go a longer way and will be more effective, because they don't want to lose their privileges. But that, again, is my preference, my personal preference. So they have to respect you. They have to be able to jump on the couch with you anytime, ask you any question, bounce things off you, and they will respect your opinion when they respect you. But if they can't respect you, they will not respect your opinion, and they may turn to other people, maybe mentees, teachers, pastors, or whatever other adult figures in their lives to talk to, and you don't want that. And no matter what they say to you, don't react emotionally. Don't frown. Don't show shock. Don't put them down. Don't shut them down. Don't react, no matter what your emotions are. Hear them out. Listen to what is said, and listen to what is not being said as well. Decipher the subliminal messages underlining their thoughts process, underlining their behavior, because there lies the rub. That's the rub, the underlining issues. Because if you show any form of, judgment or rejection or shock or anger or anything, they will clam up. They will clam up, and they will not be so open to talk with you in future. And you don't want that, because you have no idea what these other people are going to speak into their lives, and they're going to, if they speak good things into their lives and solve their problems, guess what? The love that's meant for you is going to go towards them, because at that point in time, they want problem solvers. They want to see results from your words, from your encouragement, from your actions, working out in their lives. That builds more respect, and they will come to you for more advice in future. And if for any reason you don't have the answers, or you don't know how best to give the answers, just tell them, hey, why don't we talk about this tomorrow? Okay? I've heard you, So let's give it some time. Give me some time to think about it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And meanwhile, you can go bounce it off your spouse or your pastor or a counselor or, a friend or whatever, your parents and all that, and then come back to the discussion table. Your emotions are sorted out. You can vent all your emotions when you're talking to adults and all other people and all that. So you come back calm, you come back with the right answers, and you can express it in the best way possible for the child to be able to receive and retain it. A lot of parents need, counseling. They need help. They need support, but they're not asking for it. They're not reaching out for it. If you don't know the best way to answer a question, the best way to handle any trait you see, always reach out to a counselor. Always reach out for support. That's why they are there, to help you along the journey. Even if it's a call line, they don't have to see your face, so you don't have to feel embarrassed or whatever. Talk to counselors, talk to people, seek advice, tell them exactly what's going on. Need counseling for their mental health, just to talk. So I encourage you, women, seek counsel. Talk to people. If you have friends and you're too shy to talk to them, to be real around them, find counselors that you can be real with. Because there's a lot of burden, emotional, psychological burden that we're carrying that we ought not to be carrying. It makes life so much easier for us as women. So train up a child, edit everything about them in the way that they should go, especially in their friends and the company that they keep. Because as the saying goes, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. So observe the friends they're hanging out with and why they're attracted to such friends. And so if that group is worrisome to you, then find out why they are attracted to hang out with such girls or boys. And maybe you may want to nip some things and adjust some things in them. Because the law of differential association, the law of osmosis, they are sponges. They are sponges. Yeah, and they're going to sponge from their friends. There's no way around that. So you need to edit the kind of friends they hang out with.